The 2026 season had a controversial start, with Mercedes finding loopholes in compression ratio trick, which was found to be around 20 extra horsepowers. Red Bull Racing tried to replicate the trick, but were not successful in doing, so they decided to leak about Mercedes' trick to other engine manufacturers. In no time, Ferrari, Audi, and Honda immediately paired up and started to force FIA to ban Mercedes' compression trick before they even hit the track on the preseason Barcelona testing. Although FIA rejected the appeal, as Mercedes is a supplier for 4 teams, and that would become hard for Mercedes to start over again. The FIA let Mercedes use the compression trick, but as we advanced and the power unit started to show its true potential, at Bahrain, with next to no reliability issues and a promising pace, noticing this, other teams started to oppose once again. Mercedes felt the pressure and started to downplay its engine and upplay other teams. Toto Wolff and George Russell even stated that Red Bull are the benchmark. Not only Mercedes tried to do it, even McLaren said that Ferrari looks much better than everyone else and could be a potential contender for a title fight. With the end of Day 3 of Bahrain testing, both the Mercedes cars topped timing charts, while teams like Aston Martin were struggling with gearbox and chassis overweight issues. But on the other end, Ferrari seems to have fixed the biggest issue of race starts, that other teams are currently struggling to get the turbo spinning up. Both Red Bull and Audi has had decent running. Only a few hydraulic error has occurred for both the teams, but McLaren doesn't seem to be enjoying, as they'll be calling out for major changes in the upcoming F1 Commission meeting held at Bahrain. The first issue being the start procedure. Let's understand what is the main issue with the new regulations. Previously, drivers used to rev the engine up to 9,000 RPM and have a perfect boost delivered by turbo. In the new era, drivers would need to rev all the way up to 12,000 RPM, and that too for about 10 seconds, which avoids the turbo lag. Imagine all the 20 cars are already sitting onto the grid, while last 2 cars approach their grid boxes. Whilst the other have already prepared their cars for proper launch, the last 2 cars won't get enough time to build up for their race start. Or in other case, one of the car ahead gets the procedure wrong, which could turn into anti-stall and cause huge chaos. Although Ferrari are against this, as they've now adapted their engines, but 12 months ago, when Fred Vasseur mentioned about this, no one seemed to care, and now that other teams face this issue, they want the procedure to be changed, to which Ferrari is heavily opposing. The next issue being the risk of huge closing speed. As the engines are so battery dependent this year, teams will be doing way more lifting and coasting to charge their batteries. The worry is that a car is caught by surprise as the car ahead of it lifts before a corner, causing a big crash. Andrea Stella referenced Mark Webber's Valencia 2010 crash as a possible result. He proposes changing the amount of battery power available in certain race conditions would resolve it. Now FIA faces the biggest pressure. If they accept McLaren's either proposal, then they'll have to ask Mercedes to cancel their compression ratio trick as well. Because at the end of the day, it is a sport followed by millions of fans, and throwing some teams into a point where they can't even compete with teams that are using loopholes won't be fair either. If FIA bans the compression trick, then all the teams using Mercedes' power unit would be thrown on a back foot. If McLaren's proposal about race start procedure is being accepted, then that would raise concern favoring a particular team, as Ferrari raised the same issue 12 months ago, but got completely ignored. The biggest concern for FIA could be drivers slowly coming out and speaking about the new regulations, which are so far not to anyone's favor, and leading to drivers being forcefully asked to shut their mouths. With both chassis and engine changes, it looks like Formula One fans would even have a hard time understanding these new regulations, which could potentially lead to losing a huge amount of fans from the sport. Now, what could we expect from the 2026 season? Teams with Mercedes' power unit will have advantage anyways, although Williams, Alpine, and Mercedes seems to be on the front foot, with McLaren slightly behind. Red Bull and VCarb hasn't had any major issues so far, and can even fight for podiums, although Red Bull will start on back foot as the car is overweight. But it could even turn out like 2022 season, starting with heavier car, but a rocket ship later. Ferrari could turn out to have better starts than other teams due to their engine adaptability. But the biggest concern for the entire season won't be just being faster. Instead, it would be having a fast and reliable car, which pretty much looks like Ferrari's power unit could turn out to be the most reliable one. Audi hasn't had major issues either, but their sidepod designs could be either a big hit or send them to the back of the grid. Audi seem to be having a lot of hydraulic and electrical failure though, which could be a potential harm to the team. Apart from that, Audi was the first team that hit the minimum weight for 2026. Honda seems to be struggling a lot with the gearbox issues, as they were limited to somewhere around 10,000 RPM. According to some analysts, this is caused due to Adrian Newey's way too aggressive aero package. But if Honda could resolve the issue, It could turn out to be a season fans won't forget for ages. The predictions for top 5 are as follows: Mercedes, McLaren, Ferrari, Red Bull, and Williams. Let me know, what are your thoughts? Will FIA favor McLaren's decision by changing the rules, or will it be a major shock for the Mercedes power unit customers?